Imagine growing up in the 2000s. A young Mike didn't have many friends except the woodland creatures within the Redwall series. Revisiting his local library for more adventures of these unapologetic British animals.
For all seasons and forever, every beast shall remember thy name.
Now, years have gone by, and I found a game that has let me relive my childhood. A childhood of getting my ass kicked by bears. Banners of Ruin, a roguelike deck builder where you command woodland creatures in tactical combat. Banners of Ruin is a party-based deck building game set in a world of medieval animals. Travel with up to 6 characters through the streets of Dawn's Point, facing perilous combat encounters at each turn. Take revenge on the Enders for what they did to the noble House Blackfoot, but expect to lose some brothers along the way. The game's core exploration is through choosing one of 3 cards on the table, so to speak. The lore is slowly built and explained as you choose different cards and fight various enemies. This is how I think lore should be done. There are sequences where it's a huge block of text, but for anything other than the main plot, it's all small, little, bite-sized pieces of information. Developed by Monte Barrow, Banners of Ruin came out in 2021 with mostly positive reviews on Steam. Monte Barrow is a small 3-person team based in the UK. Alec and Callum are the main dev team, and Dan is the composer and sound designer. I'm using their first names because if you make a game that used and abused me like Banners of Ruin did, I deserve to be familiar with my tormentors. Additionally, Banners of Ruin had 2 publishers, Goblins Publishing and Maple Whispering. Traditionally, publishers help with financing, marketing, and general support of the dev team. And I love a small dev team. There's something charming about a small group of friends making a game they're passionate about. I feel like there's a lot of heart within these kind of games. But look, I don't play deck builders. I never got into the Slay the Spire hype, so I'm relying on you, my intelligent, handsome viewers, to inform me about deck builders. Banners of Ruin is a standard but solid deck builder. My knowledge with the genre is limited, but as far as I can tell, it's not doing anything revolutionary. It's just a really challenging game with a huge amount of replayability, especially if you want to unlock every card, talent, and perk for every character. I picked this one out because firstly, I like the aesthetic of it. And I know this is the 4th game I talked about that has animal characters. I promise I'm not a furry, and secondly, I really wanted to get into the deck building market. The success of Balatro brought in a whole new wave of deck builders and enthusiasts to play them. Anyway, I intended to play Banners of Ruin for like an hour or so, just enough time to get material to make a short review, but I got hooked. I get it now. I understand why the deck building genre is so popular. I'm honestly surprised it took me this long to get into them. Within the genre is so much that I like in games. Min-maxing and building broken character builds, and researching and seeing what other people are doing and finding out what works best. At its core, Banners of Ruin is a deck building roguelike, but it has elements of tactical RPG with 9 unique characters and a host of different armors and weapons. There are 6 characters in the base game, and they all work in mostly similar ways. DLC adds 3 more units with very unique mechanics that change drastically how you have to play. As I mentioned earlier, you have to choose one of 3 cards for each interaction, so it differs slightly from roguelikes where you can plan your route. Slay the Spire is probably the most popular example of this. In Banners of Ruin, there is no planning your route. You can even get surprised with ambush combats. There are secret and optional paths that you can take or miss, so there's plenty within the quote-unquote map that you can explore. Combat plays like a lot of other deck builders. Every turn you get a handful of cards, and can only use them if you have the stamina. But Banners of Ruin is very much a team/party game. You can have up to 6 characters on the field, each with their own stamina and willpower, so theoretically you can play a ton of cards if you have the characters and you can keep drawing cards. Further on in the run, you can get both a larger team and more cards that allow you to keep drawing, so you'll be able to use up all the stamina on multiple characters. Willpower allows you to use race-specific abilities. It doesn't refresh with each turn, so you only have a set amount of them each combat, but they allow you to perform actions that you can't with your cards. Weasels can use willpower to spawn hidden blades, bears can convert all debuffs into shields, and wolves have the ability to use another person's weapons. Speaking of which, you can equip each character with armor and weapons that give you cards that only they can use. The cards offer a wide variety of effects like AoE, multi-hits, debuff stacking, shielding, and more. I played for 20 hours or so, and I still haven't gotten all the weapons. You can get armor and weapons from large combat, elites, events, or shops. Your deck consists of talents, skills, weapons, and occasionally ruins and injuries. Talents are stronger cards tailored to a specific unit and their race. You can get up to 4 talents at max level, and only that character can use them. Skills are your basic cards that any unit can use, and while there are a lot of different cards, there are some aspects of deck builders and TRPGs that I feel are missing. There are rarely any healing cards and nothing to remove buffs from enemies. While this isn't a deal breaker, it does make the game more difficult in a frustrating kind of way, where in some cases I felt like there was no counterplay to some of the enemies. In one specific combat, the enemy stacked way too many buffs and there was nothing I can do about it. To wrap up this card section, you have injuries and ruins. If you're any familiar with deck builders, you know what these are. They are cards that, more often than not, have a negative effect on your team. Injuries are added to your deck by enemy attacks or through some of the random events. Ruins are added when using some of your cards. For example, one card deals increasing damage based on how many cards you pick to be ruined. Like injuries, ruins usually have a negative effect, so both these cards can bloat your hand if you're not careful about discarding them. I love the replayability of Banners of Ruin. Every race has several unique talents and perks that only the one character can use, so you really are incentivized to make use of every character you can get. You start each run with a team of 2, choosing from 6 available races. You can have a max party of 6 units, which allows you to play around with building your team and deck. I found it really fun trying out new characters and mixing and matching the different races. There's a huge amount of incrementing and changing between each run. Randomized talents and perks can force each character to focus on different cards. Things like the choice of the gear and cards after each battle can make or break your run. A while ago I watched a speedrun of Slay the Spire where the devs commented over the footage. In that speedrun, Anti-Flame beat the game in 5 minutes, knowing exactly which items and artifacts to pick up in order to make that run. But with Banners of Ruin, there is nothing consistent between runs, in a good way. You have to make the best of with what you have. Additionally, I think the devs really wanted to push players to use all 6 characters. But unfortunately, not all of them are too useful. Banners of Ruin is a really fun game, but it's not perfect. The dev team stopped supporting it in 2023, and you can clearly see what races, cards are weaker and stronger. But despite all that, I think it's a great game. The design and aesthetics are right up my alley. The music is a nice feature that adds to the gravitas in the plot and grows and changes with how far you progress. It's a subtle way of giving the final bosses and elites much more weight to them. The enemy designs are unique, and the different bosses force you to change your playstyle. Not all of them are able to be beaten with pure damage alone. All in all, Banners of Ruin is amazing. It's fun and challenging in the best way. It's punishing, but also rewards you for exploring and taking risks. So if you're a fan of deck builders, party-based games, or if you're a furry, Banners of Ruin is definitely a game you should check out. Thanks for watching. Smash that like and subscribe button. Comment down below if you're a Redwall fan or if you talk to girls in your youth. Thanks.